General George Smith Patton, Jr., was born on November 11, 1885 in San Gabriel, California. He became one of the United States' most successful generals, despite being a complex character who was known for his quirky attitudes and behavior. He played a leading role in the Allied operations in North Africa, Sicily, and the liberation of Germany. From an early age, Patton wished to pursue a military career. His ancestors had fought in the Mexican War and he wished to carve out a career as a military hero. He enrolled in the military academy at Virginia, before graduating from West Point in 1909. After graduation, he was given a commission in the 15th Cavalry Regiment. A year later he also married Beatrice Eyre. In 1912, he competed in the Paris Olympics in the modern pentathlon. At the time, the event was only open to military officers, and included a range of disciplines considered necessary for officers. The young Patton distinguished himself in the different disciplines and would probably have finished higher than 5th, if it had not been for an unfortunate incident in the pistol shooting competition. Patton claimed he had a bullseye shot not recorded because it passed through a hole made by his .38 revolver. Nevertheless, his response to this disappointment was indicative of the spirit of the Olympics at the time. In 1915, he witnessed his first action, leading patrols on the Mexican border against the leader of the Mexicans, Francisco Pancho Villa. With the entry of the U.S. into the First World War in 1917, Patton was sent to France where he became a leading exponent of the use of tanks in battle. The tank was a new invention and the first uses were of limited value as the tanks tended to break down in the muddy fields of Flanders. Nevertheless, at the Battle of Cambrai, tanks proved their usefulness and Patton became one of the leading experts on the use of tanks in war. By September 1918, he had nearly 350 tanks at his disposal, and Patton helped to direct their movement from the front lines. For his bravery in the face of the enemy he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for heroism. He was shot in the leg whilst directing tanks. After the end of the First World War, Patton worked in various Army staff jobs. He helped to innovate aspects of tank warfare, though the American military didn't have many funds to invest in this aspect of war. However, with the shock of Blitzkrieg adopted by Germans in the late 1930s, Patton encouraged Congress to place greater emphasis on tank warfare. After the entry of America into the Second World War, in December 1941, Patton was assigned to North Africa where he took part in America's first involvement in this operation of the war. He was by now a commanding general and appeared on the cover of Time magazine. His stock further rose through his passionate speeches to his men where he encouraged them to show no mercy to the enemy. He was a very strict disciplinarian, and imposed fines on soldiers who showed up unshaven. But, despite his strictness and bluntness, he was generally admired by his men. He appeared somewhat of an outsider with his somewhat unorthodox dress. In 1943, he was part of the successful Allied invasion of Sicily. However, his success was overshadowed by a slapping incident which nearly got Patton the sack. Patton slapped a soldier recovering from battle wounds, branding him a coward. This led to negative press and a scolding from Eisenhower. However, his stock was such that he was allowed to stay on, and take a role in the invasion of mainland Europe. He was made commander of the U.S. Third Army. Perhaps his greatest hour came during the Battle of the Bulge. A small section of the U.S. Army came under siege in the Belgian town of Bastogne. Patton disengaged from his offensive campaign, and turned his Third Army north to relieve the beleaguered units under heavy German attack. It was largely praised as a magnificent redeployment of troops within 24 hours. Patton was successful in mobilizing the logistic superiority of the U.S. Army in making a rapid advance over France and later Germany. While entering Germany, he came across concentration camps such as Buchenwald, and personally made German civilians and German troops tour the camps. After the end of the war, he returned to America to a hero's welcome. Tragically, he died in a motor accident in December 1945. Returning to Germany, he suffered a fatal crash and died in a hospital in Heidelberg. Patton was a great military leader. he also lacked the diplomatic niceties of Eisenhower. He often made disparaging comments about his British allies, once saying, "The Third Army could drive the British back to the sea for another Dunkirk." He was also an outspoken critic of his Soviet allies and openly saying he would like to fight the communists. His lack of political sense made him a liability, and perhaps explains why he never gained overall command. He was admired for his compassionate treatment of the defeated Germans. But, he also veered too much the other way, saying that, he compared the Nazis to losers in American political elections, and that being a Nazi in Germany was like being a Democrat in the States. After that statement, he was relieved of his command. But, whatever his weaknesses, he was a great military leader known for his fierce determination and skill in leading his men. If you have feedbacks, please comment below. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe.